Well, hello ladies and gents, PepperBelly here, bringing you guys some Hawken beta gameplay. And I say beta lightly because, well, I honestly thought this game released because I stopped following it for the longest time and only started thinking about it recently. And I actually thought this game was released. I had no idea it was in beta for like over a year and still technically is in beta, so yeah. But basically what happened was I got an email from the developers and they were saying how, well, they gave everybody who had previous experience with this game. So, as many of you guys probably don't know, I was actually in the alpha. I participated way back in the alpha, you know, the days before textures were even in the game. Like, everything was just white. All buildings were just giant white squares. There was no graphics at all, like no textures, no nothing. And then some maps did actually have textures and whatnot, but like mainly it was just all plain and boring and still really cool. That was the last time I played it, was during that alpha. I haven't touched the game ever since, once they closed up that alpha, and like I was obviously under NDA, so I couldn't talk about it even though I really wanted to at the time. I couldn't. So I just haven't talked about it ever since. So they're giving people who had experience with the game since alpha and even previous beta time, whenever they got into it. And they decided to give, because the game's coming to Steam, and they gave every single one of those players a Steam key. So I actually got one, which is extremely convenient and coincidental because the other day I was actually thinking about this game. I was talking to friends of mine, and we were talking about what games we could play together, what games interest us, and like, you know, thinking like, oh, you know, we could play some exotic games, some games that we don't traditionally play. And I was thinking like, oh yeah, Hawken's a mech game. I remember that. It was really fun when I played it back in alpha, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, and seeing the previews and stuff for it, I kind of wanted to get it again. I'm like, and we were talking about it, and then suddenly, like literally a day later, I get the email for Steam key, which is convenient because if you guys don't know me, I don't like installing extra clients for a lot of games. I like to have all my shit organized in either Origin or Steam, depending on the game, unless it's a game I absolutely want to play. For example, the Elder Scrolls Online beta, like that's different. I have Elder Scrolls Online installed because, well, one, it'll never be on Steam, most likely. And yeah, so like, you know, that's an exception. Games like that are exceptions, but traditionally I just like to have my stuff on Steam or within some clients like Origin or Steam. Either one, doesn't really matter. Uplay is an exception too, so I have, you know, some games I bought on Uplay, well, games I got CD keys, but I had to redeem them on Uplay, which was already pushing it. But I don't like to install like launchers for specific games. That's just me. Anyway, so they gave me the Steam key and I was like, hell yeah, the game's on Steam now. This is amazing. Like even Warframe is another example of that. How like I installed it just for that, but then eventually they actively had Warframe on Steam, and then that completely, same with Blacklight Retribution. All those games eventually migrated to Steam, which made me a hell of a lot happier. But anyway, that's besides the point. You're seeing right now one of the first matches I've ever played. It probably is the first match. I don't remember how many matches I played at this point. This was towards the beginning though. Like I haven't even gotten that much experience in this game, and I was already doing pretty good, and I had a lot of fun with it. Things I noticed right off the bat. Now, I want to get this out of the way right now because I don't have a ton of Hawken experience. There are a lot of people out there, I've been reading on the forums, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this game, and they talked about how they disliked the recent changes. This game has gone through a lot over the course of the year, numerous gameplay mechanic changes, and now it's a lot faster paced. I guess you could say, like, to me it feels the same, because alpha, apparently, like all the alpha players are happy with this latest patch. All the people who are in closed beta onward aren't. Because when it went into beta, it kind of switched and turned into this slower paced, more, it's still faster paced than traditional mech games like MechWarrior Online or, you know, any other style of mech game. But that's besides the point. They kind of slowed it down a little bit, made everything feel a little bit heavier, and made it feel slower paced. And actually gave a huge boost to mechs that were designed to be quicker, so that those mechs actually were able to be utilized the way they were intended. In this, they just sped everything right back up to the way it traditionally felt during alpha. So like all the alpha players, like I said, are happy with it. All the beta players aren't because they were so used to the new change they incorporated. If you guys look at Ascension, which was one of the DLCs that completely changed everything, I think that was the patch that added tuning, which allowed you to tune the mech to your specifications so it can suit your playstyle. Well, they got rid of that, and a lot of people were kind of happy about it. They're like, that's the only thing they did right, was removing that, because it didn't really leave good balance between players. Like if someone had a really superior mech, like leveled up, and he just completely went to town tuning it and made it optimal performance for him, it was notable on the battlefield. Like you'd see other players would not be able to compete just because their mech would be always overpowered, which is what a lot of people are saying. But regardless, it's fixed, and there's no tuning, so now every single mech has an even playing field. Now, something else I kind of tended to notice is the fact that everything feels a lot floatier, and the sounds, like the audio sounds, aren't nearly as good as I remember, or as I've seen in previews. Now, like I said, I don't have a lot of Hawken experience, so I have no idea how this game actually was like 2 or 3 months ago. But one thing I definitely don't like is the sounds. They sound way too muffled, they're not meaty enough, they don't sound like I'm firing a high-powered fucking killing machine weapon of the future on a mech. Doesn't feel like that. Doesn't even feel like I'm really moving around in the mech. It's very floaty and very, very light feeling. You don't feel every individual step. There's no real feedback to the fact that I'm walking around in a mech. You're not feeling yourself stomping the ground. You're not feeling the fact that you weigh like 50 fucking tons. You don't feel any of that shit. You're just like, yeah, you know, I'm just flying all over the place. Now the mech, or this game was intended to be played that way. It was intended to be all like, you know, fast-paced and using boost to dodge and stuff, which is one of the other major changes they included in this patch. They changed the boost in it, where now, like, strafing no longer consumes fuel, because the way it used to work before is, like, right now what I'm doing, you can see me charging forward with my boost. That's basically like the sprint mechanic, if you want to think in traditional first-person shooters. And you were also able to do strafing. So you can, like, side strafe dodge. And before that used to also consume fuel, so fuel was a huge, like, factor in the gameplay, where now it's just, you got that little gauge beside the fuel meter that is telling you, it's basically a cooldown now. So you have unlimited, like, dodging ability, it just has a cooldown timer instead of fuel. So that's the only difference. Makes it not that difficult because micromanaging your fuel is not nearly as hard. The thing about that, though, is that it allows for insanely fast-paced gameplay, because now you can dodge and move without wasting your fuel. Because if you were in a firefight and you're dodging left and right and you're bleeding all your friggin' fuel, and then you gotta get the fuck out of there, so you're like, you do a 180 spin, you try to get out, no. Probably not gonna happen because you already just utilized all the fuel trying to evade incoming fire. However, now that you're able to dodge freely without consuming fuel at all, it's very, very easy just to, like, hit and run style tactics. You know, you get in there, you fire and strafe, do whatever the fuck you gotta do while shooting a bunch of rounds, and then suddenly, like, oh crap, I'm going up against way more than I can handle, or I'm about to die, 180 spin, boost the fuck out, and problem solved. Some people don't like it, some people do. I guess, for me, I haven't really experienced the game in the past enough to really justify or, like, give you excruciatingly intense details about the changes and how I feel the gameplay has altered over the course of this patch, but I just think it's fine the way it is. I've been having fun with it, I've been playing it all day, yesterday I've been playing it today. It's a great game, and I highly recommend it. When it comes available to Steam for everybody, which will be towards the end of this month, I strongly recommend picking it up and seeing how the game is. My name's PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'll see you guys next time.